Okay. Anyways, never mind. Technical issues.
Yeah, and we're too hungry.
Yes. So this is we are. You guys wanted us to eat. What did they choose the corn dogs?
Yeah.
They choose the corn dogs. All right. So you guys chose the corn dogs. So we're eating corn dogs. Here we go.
After how many times I've asked Dr. Rivkin, can we please get corn dogs, and he was
This
against
sounds like a bad idea.
So it's our first time.
This is the first time eating Korean corn dogs, and I have to say that I am more than a little bit hesitant about doing this. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's so good.
It may, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen during. I don't know what's going to happen afterwards.
I'm gonna wait for you.
I'm going to
For
see
our
what.
first bite.
I'm going to see what kind of what this does to my gastrointestinal system
Gosh.
afterwards. We'll see. All right.
Should we take our first bite?
Yes.
Are you putting ketchup on?
What did I put on there? Ketchup?
This one is beef, and this one is half beef and half mozzarella. Let's start with this one.
Okay, let's start with this one. Could I
Yeah.
put ketchup on it or
Yeah.
mustard? Okay, ketchup. All right, here we go. Putting ketchup on it.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, cheers. Cheers. Oh. Wow. Oh, I love that with mozzarella.
Mmm.
Did you guys hear the crunch? Last time we did this, all we heard was more crunch, more crunch.
Yeah,
So-
no questions about anything else but
Yeah,
crunch.
just crunch. Which is fine. So, that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also beef and,
Mhm. Yum.
And so today we're going to be discussing
Mm-hmm.
shenanigans in plastic surgery,
Okay, I want to know.
right?
Because I didn't read it fully because I wanted you to tell me the story.
All right. So there's an article in Allure
Mm-hmm.
by an author who's really pretty awesome. And she does a lot of stories. Her name is Jolene Edgar. She does a lot of stories on plastic surgery and all the various things that, the new procedures and, kind of how plastic surgery impacts society, what the sort of the culture of plastic surgery is, and she's quite thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
about our field, which is interesting. She
Yeah.
interviews people that are very good. And so her latest article is called "Inside Plastic Surgery's Epidemic of Shady
Shade. Uh-huh.
Before and After Photography." So that's it. See? Shady. And so she talks about how. My phone's gone off. So she talks about how people do before and afters in plastic surgery that can be a little bit deceptive. So when they do the before and afters, they do these kind of manipulations to make sure that the results are, as good as possible. But they could be doing manipulations that make the results better than they actually are, right?
How?
So this is the question, right? So this article is, and I quote, "to expose the subterfuge that is rampant among aesthetic accounts on social media." And so this is the thing. This is all on social media. And an interesting thing about this, right, is it used to be that people would. Well, it used to be that there was. I remember a time. I remember a time when there was no internet, and
Oh gosh.
these old dudes would go up to the microphone in a conference and be like, I've always advertised in newspapers, and it's been okay with me, and it's gonna be okay forever. This newfangled internet thing, forget about it. This is crazy stuff. Or I had like old pompous guys be like, well, plastic surgeons really, they shouldn't advertise at all. I mean, what is this advertising? I mean,
It's like frowned upon?
it's frowned upon. In the
Okay.
1890s, nobody
Yeah.
would advertise, and that was
Right.
good enough for them, and it was good enough for us as well. So there's that. Obviously, with internet, with social media, that's gone out the window. So it used to be indeed that people before social media, when there's internet, we would we just get a really good website and try to get really good before and after photos where that would really show your work, right? So they were lit, the lighting was supposed to be the same, the position was supposed to be the same, the camera was supposed to be the same. It was all supposed to really be similar quality photographs as you would find in a journal, in a scientific journal, where there really is no tolerance for any kind of manipulation, because you want to see the difference that your intervention made, right? Not the difference between no makeup versus makeup, like, or one position versus another position, or lighting differences. You want to see, you want to equilibrate. You're going to take all the variables out and just have the difference between before the procedure and after. So that was for when we were doing, on website, and there was really and people who would mess around with photos, it was really pretty obvious they were messing around with them, and it was just not. It was clear that wasn't cool.
Okay.
Now though, it's social media, and on Instagram, it's the wild west in our industry to some degree, and where really those kinds of considerations of we gotta be, we have to make our before and after images be really really true to the procedure that we did, and really show really show it scientifically. That's not really what's on people's minds mostly, So what's on people's minds is, hey, how do we get this post to do well?
Right.
And how do we show, how do we advertise our work? And so when does that cross those considerations of, I want this post to do well and I want to advertise my work because I think I do good work? When does that cross into kind of shady manipulation of photographs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an interesting question to ask. So, so a quote that she has in the beginning of the article, she has a surgeon saying, "Beware the surgeon who isn't fastidious enough to take consistent photos." And I agree with that. It shows they are lazy, not careful, or intending to manipulate you. And I think that's, I think there's some truth there, where, I think that it's, you want to, but it's hard. There's some truth there, but it's also hard. Like, we've had problems with before and after photos in terms of getting good lighting, getting consistency, getting to, consistent images. It's really, and in focus, and it's not easy. So
were these shady doctors photoshopping? Is that what they mean by being shady?
The tactics run the gamut, he points out, from sneakily irregular poses. So, in the before, it's the person is lying down, and the after, the person is standing up.
Oh, okay. So
that
different
changes
lighting,
things, right? Different
shadows,
poses. One, to more egregious offenses like presenting intraoperative on the table shots as actual outcomes, when in fact real results takes months to develop. I've never understood that, where people show, and I mean, I think, again, I sympathize with surgeons and practitioners. It's hard to get people back for their after shots.
Totally.
For injections, it's almost impossible. Nobody's going to come back
just for photos.
For surgery, it's a little bit different, where people come back and there's follow-up appointments where you take photos and you look at things and kind of evaluate your results. For injectables, that's not easy. So but it's still, when these guys post photos and oh, look, here's the before rhinoplasty, and this person has a big bump, and then they do this kind of funny thing on the nose, or they do this kind of thing, or I don't know.
Oh,
they
for
put
a video, you mean?
Yeah,
okay.
For a video.
Yeah.
They put a little piece of paper, and then they come out like that, and then what's in front of you is not the person 6 months out, or a year after. Optimally would be a year after rhinoplasty. What you see is the person on the operating table, still intubated, and their nose looks, okay, I guess it looks pretty good, but it's right after the operation. So that's always kind of a little weird. I guess But I mean, it's yeah. Anyways, I don't know if that's deceptive because like, you know that the person's right after an operation. I mean, I think it's deceptive if there's if it's implied that this is the way the nose is going to stay like forever, like this is the final result, which it's not. Like, the nose, it changes. Everything changes over as the person heals, and so that it may be that is the final result, or it may be that things change and it's not. So I don't know. So I mean, if you're saying, hey, here's the before and here's the immediately post, things may change, but this is a good start. Okay, that's fine. If you're saying here's the after and it's on the table intubated, that's kind of silly. Anyway, so there's a study published in Plastic Reconstructive Surgery Global Open in 2022 by Danny Soares, who's a very, very smart guy. He's done good research in a lot of things in aesthetics, and shows he took 2,000 before and after images of facial cosmetic procedures posted to Instagram by aesthetic medicine practitioners. So he did, and these are images that are both before and afters for surgical as well as non-surgical procedures. So his conclusion was to show that the average before and after is medium to poor quality, with as many as 40% being potentially deceptive.
40%?
40%. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's like half the.
That's
1,000 before and after.
Yeah, that's
wow.
That's a lot. So, I think, and it's interesting because sometimes people will say post before afterwards, the before, and then it's the selfie taken by the patient afterwards.
With like all the makeup on.
And again, I mean, well, I don't know. What do you think of that?
Well, I feel like obviously with surgeries too, but in our industry with like injectables,
yeah,
I see that all the time. Like most common areas are always like jawline and lips, and people come in with these like Instagram before and afters that they found.
Look, there's no hot dog in here.
There is. You have
Where's
to eat
the
it
hot dog?
halfway. You have to eat it halfway.
I don't see a hot dog.
Let me see.
Look.
No, that's the hot dog.
Way down there, little
Yes.
dinky thing?
Yes.
Oh.
But you have another one.
Talk about deception. Like you look at this thing, you're like, hot dog, this is going to be really good. And then you bite into it and you see the hot dog is just like this much.
But it's half of it is cheese.
I don't know. Now I'm getting like...
Crunch. Okay, let's give him a crunch.
French fried cheese. Okay, crunch. Crunch. Alright. So, what were you saying?
So with injectables, patients will come in with before and afters of like a jawline, for example. And these before and afters are only taken from the side, and like what I'm talking about, those like really sharp angles that are very unrealistic, but you hardly ever see them from the front on, because I could only imagine how much.
Right, and that's the other problem, and that's something that they talk about in the article, is people showing only the most favorable angles, and not showing the angles that, all the angles, which they really should, because something that's a snatched jawline from the profile can be a really alien jawline from the front. So, I don't know. But with selfies, I think that we have to take a more nuanced approach to this kind of thing. I don't think it's the same category. The befores and afters on Instagram, I don't think are the same category of images or should be judged in the same way as befores and afters on the website or befores and afters in journals and scientific journals.
How come?
Because it's more advertising. Like if you have a before with patients with a bump, and then afterwards with a selfie, I think that's not entirely duplicitous or unacceptable, because you're showing the kind of confidence and the effect you can see on the photos, on the selfies, the effect that this surgery has had on the patient's personality, on how their self-esteem has changed, and how they are now okay with presenting themselves out to the world with more confidence. So, I think it's not a black and white kind of thing.
I agree. And I feel like also with our patients, like when they do see our before and afters on our page, like on Instagram.
Yeah.
And like those people already come in expecting natural results, because clearly that's what they see. They're not expecting drastic results, versus people that want those looks are probably going to.
Far away.
Yeah.
Far away from us.
Right? Don't you agree?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, but we do. All right, so let's continue what you're doing.
Okay.
So another thing that people do, and this was a surprise to me. I mean, I don't do body procedures, so I don't think about this stuff very much. But this is a really good point. People are showing, get this, befores and afters from mommy makeovers and so it's like breast reduction patients, mommy makeovers, tummy tucks, that kind of thing. The before is the before. Then they have surgery, but what they don't tell you is the patient also went on Ozempic. And so you have these awesome results, these spectacular results, and you think it's just because of the surgery, but it's not. It's
That's
also Ozempic.
gnarly. Because then what happens when they do surgeries on these people and then they're like, okay, how come I'm not getting these results?
That's exactly right. Right.
So what do they do? Well,
You know, I'm sure they say something. I don't know what they say. You're less than. I don't know. I mean, I think that's clearly deceptive.
oh,
If you don't say that, I think that's pretty deceitful. I mean, and it says, I mean, these guys are talking, so the surgeons that she was interviewing consider this to be as deceitful as Photoshop, and I agree. I think this is pretty hardcore.
I mean, it's just, yeah, it's lying.
Yeah. So, ideally, clinical photos taken in a room, designed for that purpose, true. Always the same camera on the same settings, true. Hard to, again, I mean, we've had so many kind of difficulties designing that kind of room.
Yeah.
But we've managed to, now we have something that works. But it took a long time. Patients are carefully posed at prescribed distance from the lens. That's important too. You have a patient that's closer, there's distortion a little bit in terms of features. And you can make, so sometimes people do this and you'll see it where you can sometimes tell in the before and after that, here, come closer here. We gotta, we're doing, by the way, for this live, I mean, you guys are Instagram very special, but also we're doing it on TikTok and also doing it for YouTube. So, so you guys are special too. You guys are also special. So special, everybody's special. So, crunch. Oh boy, sorry, crunch. Okay, it's been a while. What were you gonna say? What was I gonna say? I can't remember. A photo.
But another thing. So these surgeons, they're almost looking at their patient as like a one-time patient then. Because they're not going to come back after they do one treatment, right? Because they're not getting the result that they were promised.
No, but I mean, nobody wants dissatisfied patients.
Right.
But I think they probably, I don't know what they're saying. But I was going to say is, some people what they do, and you can sometimes tell in before and afters, is they'll do the before with a camera, and they use like an iPhone or something like that, where they use they'll use an iPhone and they'll do the before close up, like for rhinoplasty, and then they do it after further away. And you see why that happens?
I guess.
Well, because when you do the before close up, there is a shift in terms of, there's distortion in how the camera picks up the face.
Oh, okay.
Where the nose is really like emphasized.
Yeah,
But if you go further away, that's a normal focal distance. And there's papers about this, like the huge difference between up here versus over here.
Really? But is it easy to tell that they did that or no?
Sometimes it's not, because they crop the pictures to such a degree where you only see, you see just like what they want you to see. So sometimes it's not so easy. And then, so that's tricky.
Yeah.
And that's really, and that's not great. So you got to pose it at the same distance from the lens, and capture from multiple angles. Backdrops, lighting are identical. Nothing distracts you from the transformation that's being documented, not hair, makeup, clothing, or jewelry. And I think that's important. So I think these things are, and then they go into, in the article, they say, and then they talk about it, and I think this is there's a shift to talk about it from the perspective of the practitioner. And I think these also are concerns that, they're accurate. With Instagram, there's a quote, with Instagram, there's this immediate need to feed the beast. And it is. It's a beast.
Who's the beast?
Instagram.
Oh.
Instagram is a beast. We need to feed it every day.
That's true.
And so people
That's
feel
the
that they need
struggle.
to come up with
Something.
content and something, So, and so this is why there's like so many of these on the table kinds of shots, because people feel like they need to come up with something right now, today. So
That's a new thing.
right, and that's the other thing is, and that's the other. So then the other reason, by the way, why people are using selfies is that Instagram is cracking down on befores and afters, especially on body stuff with nudity. Instagram won't let you post before and afters. So if you're doing breast augmentation, or if you're doing tummy tuck and stuff like that, you can't post your clinical photos because Instagram will shadow ban you or put you in jail. So it's because it goes against community guidelines, whatever what community, I don't know. Instagram community. Like which community, I'm not sure. So selfies. So people use selfies because it doesn't give up flags. So I think that's and imagine like if we were only to post, and I mean this is the thing. It's not like I'm innocent. We're innocent about doing this kind of thing. We try to make posts that are people engaged with.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if we only posted like dry before and after posts on our feed. We'd be like, not.
That'd be hard.
Yeah, it'd be hard to promote a practice like that.
So you have that many people to consent. Post.
That too. So, what else? An interesting suggestion that these guys make is to take your befores and afters, because the befores and afters in general don't do terribly well. For this reason, they don't do terribly well, right? I mean, I've noticed a big decrease in terms of engagement for the before and after pictures that we put up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why, because Instagram doesn't want you to do that. Instagram wants you to, put up entertaining stuff and dance around and have like little, kitties and doggies and all this kind of stuff, which happy to do that. In fact, just filmed a little thing with Sammy today, and we'll be, stay tuned, posting it soon.
People love dogs.
Yeah. So one of the suggestions that they make is to create a separate before and after page and put the address of the page into your bio at the beginning, at the top of your page. That may not be a bad idea, because then people who want to see the befores and afters, they go there as opposed to being on your page, and so therefore your main page doesn't get there's not a risk of your main page getting shadow banned.
Well,
for putting up
it's
befores and afters.
Like there's Instagram highlights that's somewhat similar. You know how we separate it into like cheeks, under eyes and lips. So it's something like that.
True. Also, I think that's good. So here there's another article from Aesthetic Surgery Journal in 2021 showing that investigators also noted a higher degree of photography bias among accounts with more followers. So, this is so people who have the bigger accounts, they're showing that there's more photographic misrepresentation. So and it's rewarded by greater user engagement. So it works. So anyways.
So that's if you have a lot of following?
So no, they're saying not if you have a lot of following, you cheat. You cheat, and therefore you're rewarded with a lot of followers.
Oh, so you should cheat.
So you should cheat. So there you go. That's the message of this live. Thank you very much. Cheat. All right? Dishonesty works.
Get your
Crime pays.
Oh
All right. Anyway, so I would recommend. It's an interesting article.
Yeah.
It's in Allure, and it's by Jolene Edgar.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's a good article. It's a good eye opener.
it's
Let's
an interesting
give it
thing to
last
think
crunch.
about. Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Ready?
Wait. Hold on. Let me put my. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Uh-huh. Yum. Do you like it?
I'm sacrificing my gastrointestinal system for you guys, because you guys want crunch. It's a
Your
hot
kids
dog.
would love it, right?
My kids would love it. I don't think so.
No?
I mean, it's good, but it's a hot dog. It's French fried cheese.
Mm.
This is
How
not
can you say
good.
no to that?
This is not good for you. My trainer would not be happy.
He
My
doesn't have to
trainer,
know.
he would beat me. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But it does taste good.
Okay, we'll be back next week.
See you next week. We're doing it